Opta just released a stat earlier this morning, probably last night, where no team goes into attack faster than Tottenham this season. They spring into attack faster than anyone else. It's all hell break loose. Everyone go. He's told you this is who he is. So you're either going to ride with it or you're not. And at this point, Tottenham will not make a change.
So here's a look at how Tottenham have fared under big Ange Postecoglou, a 32-10-21 record. They finished 5th last season, but were eliminated in the 4th round of the FA Cup and the 2nd round of the Carabao Cup. Still no trophy. Still no trophy. So the Ange Postecoglou era at Tottenham, it seemed to start out on such a positive note. There was a lot of excitement and energy when he was named the manager, and it has gone terribly sour. Where do we think it started to go wrong for Ange Postecoglou, Chuck?
Man, for me, you mind if I answer? Or do you? Okay, for me, I think it was the match against Manchester City when the fans wanted.
That's what stands out in my mind.
Yeah, when the fans wanted him to lose, and he had a very visceral reaction to the culture, the ethos of what it means to be a part of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. And this isn't the first, man. This is the 3rd manager in a row now that has used a post-game match conference, a post-match conference, to voice his frustration with how the club is perceived, how the club moves forward in matches, how the club presents itself to the world, whether it's the fans or the players or the front office. This is the 3rd manager in a row to roast his own club for Tottenham Hotspur. And for me, that's the moment where I think that question as to whether Ange Postecoglou is the right hire or not became a bit more sour.
The thing is, he's a well-liked guy.
Yeah.
Right? Christian Romero in the locker room saying, we play for him. We're playing the right way. We like the way we're playing. We're just not getting the results. Now,
because Cuti Romero's a kamikaze. He loves going forward.
He went a step further. He said, if Ange Postecoglou gets sacked, I don't want to play on this team. I don't want to be a part of it.
Right. So I think when you're looking at Ange Postecoglou as a human being, as someone on the sideline representing Tottenham, you love everything about him, but the results speak for themselves. And he's been quoted saying, "Hey, I always win trophies in my 2nd season." Well, what if you don't? And what if you don't even get to the end of the 2nd season? I think they play too risky. And there are strategies that say, okay, play that way until you get your goal. Play that way, and then you have to adjust and defend. This is a team that leads the Premier League since 2023 in tackles in the attacking third. 173. Second most recoveries in the attacking third during that span of 346. They are constantly up there, but at the risk of their own back line and giving away counterattacks. They've given away more counterattacks in this one season or under these 2 seasons under Ange than they've done in the past 3 years before he came. So it gives you an idea that they're reckless. You can't be reckless throughout 90 minutes and expect the results to go your way in the end.
Especially in the Premier League. I get Australian national team. I get Celtic. Yeah. I get it, where you're competing in a league at that time when it was just 2. Now there's Aberdeen in the mix. But for all intents and purposes, you need to win a couple of big games a year in the Scottish Premiership, and that's against your biggest rival. In the Prem, and I get that every manager has their ideology, and they're so loyal to their ideology because it's given them success. But in the Prem, you need to adjust. You can't just be thinking in your own way, because it's not going to cut it. The Prem is too complex. It's too diverse. And the irony is that for so many seasons, they had pretty defensive managers in Jose and Conte, and then now it's like, it's the complete opposite of the spectrum.
You got to find balance.
Right. I mean,
you have to. I look at Pep Guardiola. I look at Hansi Flick. There are managers they're so stuck in their way, and their way is the right way, and they have trophies to back it up. Ange hasn't done it yet with Tottenham.
They have the best players in the world to do what they want.
Right.
I get it.
But you have to have balance.
I don't fully disagree, but I also don't agree, because Same was said of Jurgen Klopp when he first came in. You can't press this way. It's the Premier League. It's so defensive. They'll break you down after a long season.
Were they saying that about Klopp?
Yeah, they were saying that the Gegenpress won't work. Remember, he went, 4 or 5 seasons without winning a trophy?
Klopp?
There were moments where
Klopp had an extraordinary track record going into the job at Liverpool.
That's
he
not
got to a Champions League final and he won a Bundesliga with Dortmund.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the sentiment of the Premier League and the idea that you can't play a certain way. You can't stick to one tactic and make it work.
He was successful in the Premier League.
He eventually.
Yeah,
there were calls for him to be
sacked
when he started. What are you talking about?
Of course,
it's literally the exact same thing Ange Postecoglou is going through.
I don't think so, because I think Klopp had a significant track record in
that doesn't matter. What I'm explaining is the idea that you both have just presented, which is you cannot play a single system. You cannot lean on a certain way unless it's super defensive in the Premier League is a sentiment that's existed for a long time. You guys are saying he needs to find balance. They were saying the exact same thing about Jurgen Klopp when a year, 2 seasons in. They were saying the exact
did have balance.
Could you please listen to me? You guys are saying balance in this situation. Jurgen Klopp was you can't high press the entire match. You need to make adjustments. You need to sit back at the end of a game and hold the lead. They were saying the exact same thing. I don't necessarily believe you need to play a certain way in order to win the Premier League. What I will agree is it's very different from the Scottish Premiership. It's extremely different from the Hyundai A-League or whatever the league in Australia is called now. It's extremely different from being the Australian national team manager, where you're going up against high-level competition week in and week out, where you don't get that in those other competitions. But the fans asked for this. They had 3 super defensive managers back to back to back. And the fans have said the ethos of Tottenham is that we are a attractive playing, attacking football club. We want to go back to that. Even if it means we lose, we want to be entertained. That's what they asked for. They now have it. And now you're complaining?
Well, first off, I think you put words in our mouth. That's 1. 2, you can still have an attacking ethos. And defend.
There's just
he's not that guy,
and
he's told you he's not going to change.
To adapt, and I don't think you have to reinvent the wheel, but you have to be able to adjust and adapt. And it feels like Ange has been very kind of bullish on not like this is how we play.
Well, take for example that game against Chelsea from last season where they went down a man. He said, I don't care. So let's keep the high line. Let's go all out and take that way. And it's almost.
And now you expect him to change?
Crazy to think, right?
Well, the pressure. His job is probably at stake.
This is his most high-profile job he's ever had in his career as a manager. And again, he wants to die by the sword, and it's very obvious, right? I don't think this is something that he can fulfill successfully. He's going to take these risks with the players that he has to play his high line and be so exposed, right? Because you need to have that balance. You need to bring a different facet to your game to see games out. When you're up 2-0 at home for the first time, they never threw away a lead like they threw away at the weekend.
Throw this caveat in. When you have Mickey Van de Ven and Couto Romero as your center backs, if they're healthy, but because you're stretching them and you're forcing them to play so high, they have to recover and throw out these 80-yard runs, these 100-meter sprints constantly, which jeopardizes their health. And now when you lose these 2 players who are essential to your back line, of course the results don't go your way.
What both of you are asking for is something that he has already said will not happen.
Yes. Right.
So the question becomes, is he good enough to stay on as manager?
Let's take all of this into account right now and bust out the hot seat meter for Ange Postecoglou and decide how warm are we?
Look.
I'm saying burning.
It should be burning, but you have to take into account what club this is. So I'm going to go with Toasty.
Oh man, why you got to do that to Tottenham?
Because what else can be done at this point? I'm going to go with Toasty, and simply for the reason being is I don't think Daniel Levy has it in him to sack him mid-season unless he turns against Daniel Levy. I don't see him sacking him. I think this is it. You're going to have to ride this guy out at least to the end of the season and see what happens from there. You've made some strong purchases to try to play the way he wants to play. The players he's brought in, the Brennan Johnsons, the Mickey Van de Vins, the James Madisons, the Dominic Solankis, Timo Werner. I don't know where that came from, and that certainly didn't work. But the idea was to have a player that's at least willing to cut in on the left and take on a defender, at the very least create opportunities, which is what they're asking you to do. Overload the opponent's third. Create those opportunities. Get back if you have to, and if you do, Opta just released a stat earlier this morning, probably last night, where no team goes into attack faster than Tottenham this season. They spring into attack faster than anyone else. It's all hell break loose. Everyone go. He's told you this is who he is, so you're either going to ride with it or you're not. And at this point, Tottenham will not make a change. Tottenham will keep him through the end of the season, and I think it's for the betterment of Tottenham to keep him through the end of the season.
The question's got to be asked about Daniel Levy as well, because it would be.
At what point are we going to ask that question? We've been saying this for years.
Right, and it's true. So, are you going to ride this out? If Ange is so hell-bent on his style and he's not going to change, are you willing to ride this out? Because you've got a Europa League in which you're a favorite to win, and you've got the Prem that can also get you in the Champions League, and you're off the mark in order to get there. At what point is enough? And for us, it's toasty. The question is for Daniel Levy. Maybe it isn't even toasty. We know the profile of manager it is. It's just... And here's the difference from what I think between what Klopp came into and what Ange Postecoglou came into. Ange has never had a job as high profile as this. You need to work with what you've got. You can't play the same way in the Scottish Premiership as you do in the Prem.
Can I just stop you because you're wrong? Why?
I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not wrong.
Why did he get hired? Because he wanted to play this way. That's how he presented himself. They hired him for this. So now you're all of a sudden saying change after the way you got the job?
No, I'm not saying change. I'm saying adapt. Change. It's not to abandon your identity. That's not. Of course, Spurs fans want to play exciting football, but you have to have a balance.
Let's go off the adapt you just said. Do you think Daniel Levy, when he made the choice to hire this guy, do you think he understood that he wouldn't adapt?
Probably not.
I'm pretty sure he did. If you did any vetting of this man, you know he's had these arguments when he was the national team manager for Australia. Right. He had these arguments on national TV. But he's done this before.
With the Australian again. With the Australian national team, it's one thing. In the A-League, it's one thing. In the Scottish Premiership, it's one thing.
But you knew what you were getting when you hired him.
But you got to sit down right now at Spurs and be like, hey, Ange, you're playing in the Prem. The way that we're playing, it's going to kill us.
The best managers in the world adapt.
Period.
That's it.